now available in paperback and e-readers. Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door takes on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed, all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess featuring a bonus pin-up and the other 2 books in the Cyber Goddess saga at online bookstores everywhere today. On Saturday, I premiered a video talking about the tragic death of Ashley Gail Paxton. Now, Ashley Gail Paxton was a young black woman at 19 years old who loved Japanese anime, and she loved to cosplay as characters from the animes that she would go out here and watch, and she loved to present herself as a black girl dressed up as these characters at conventions and on her social media. And that was the thing that upset many of these racists out here who wanted to go out here and criticize Ashley Gail Paxton for going out here and doing something she enjoyed, which was dressing up in costumes as the characters from many of the Japanese anime that she enjoyed watching and show her interpretation of those characters. Now, after I heard about the story of Ashley Gail Paxton, I really thought about where these racists were coming from and how twisted these people were, because they were upset about her interpretation of these characters. Moreover, what really upset them was the fact that Ashley Gail Paxton had the audacity to go out here as a black girl and go out here and present herself as one of these characters, and that's the thing that triggered most of these racists, because in their eyes they thought that Ashley Gail Paxton was thinking that she was on the same level and equal to a white person. And that's the thing that basically motivated these racists to go out into her DMs and on her comment section of her social media to verbally abuse her and attack her. That's what really upset these individuals who are a part of what I call the toxic fandom. The toxic fandom that basically believes that characters are only authentic if they're white, and that somebody's interpretation of a character is wrong if you're a black person who wants to go out here and present yourself as your take on a character. Now, what these guys don't know, that I know as being a guy who's been writing fantasy for over 30 years and a guy who studied screenwriting, is that you're not getting what you think is a so-called authentic version of that character. No, what you're getting in the case of many of these characters is an interpretation of that character, an interpretation of that character from the people who have the money to finance this character, and they are giving you their presentation of that character. They're giving you their presentation of that character, and that's the way it's always been as related to adaptation. Whatever you see in one of these Japanese animes or American animation or one of these pop culture movies like Star Wars or Superman or even one of these other characters like James Bond, you're not getting a so-called authentic version like many of these white racists want you to believe. No, you're getting the version that's related to the interpretation as related to adaptation. Because in screenwriting, it's adaptation, and they adapt the material to fit within the paradigm of a screenplay. So you're not getting the actual version that you think is so-called authentic. No, you're getting the version that the producers basically approved because they had the money to go out here and approve that version. And when it comes down to that interpretation, it's their ideas that are presented on the screen, and these guys will sit there and say, oh, well, this version is authentic, not understanding, again, the version that you're getting is the one based on what the producers wanted, based on what they believe was valid, and that's where I have an issue with these racists as related to Ashley Gail Paxton. You have a lot of these racists who wanted to say that her cosplaying as these anime characters who are owned by corporations was wrong because she was a black girl looking to play these cosplay these characters, looking to cosplay these characters because she was black. But that was her right to do so because she was the one who spent the money to buy the fabric for these costumes. She was the one who went out here and looked to go out here and spend hours of time studying these costumes as related to the images in these animes, and she was the one who looked to again sew up these costumes and make herself look like this character that she had a love for. She was just going out here doing what every other kid was doing, and you had these racists who wanted to tell her that her interpretation was wrong, and the only reason why they had an issue with her interpretation being wrong was because this young black girl basically just wanted to go out here and imagine herself in the role of her favorite characters. That's the thing that triggered many of these racists. And these racists, again, they'll sit there and say, oh, her version is wrong because she's black. But what I find to be interesting is these very same racists, they won't have a problem with other people of other ethnicities going out here and presenting their interpretation of white characters. Now, Lorena Parkour is a very popular person on social media. She's a Dominican woman who goes out here and presents one of the coolest versions of Wednesday Addams, and I don't hear no white folks getting mad at Lorena Parkour. And when she goes out here and does her Wednesday at many of these cons, and when I see a lot of Asian kids out here going out here and cosplaying their favorite characters, nobody has a problem with that. But when the black girl goes out and looks to cosplay as one of her favorite characters, that's when these racists want to go out here and start getting salty. That's when these racists out here want to start getting salty. And the reason why they want to get salty, again, is because they can't stand the fact that a black person is going out here and sending a message they don't like. And the message that that black person is sending is that they are equal to a white person. They see themselves as a human being. They see themselves as a human being on the same level as a white person. And that's the thing that gets many of these racists mad, because they want these characters to be white. They want these characters that are, again, owned by corporations to only be white. But those characters were never really anything but what the producers wanted them to be. No, these characters that are out here, that these guys are saying that they're fighting for pop culture, these characters can be anything that a producer wants them to be, because like I've said before, those who control the money control the media, and those who control the media basically control the narrative. And the thing that upsets many of these racists is that a kid like Ashley Gail Paxton isn't following the anti-black programming that white supremacy has for black people as related to pop culture, because with these white racists, the only place they see for black people in their pop culture, the only place they see us as, is being in the background of their stories, being in their mangas as, again, these racist stereotypes, or being ancillary peripheral characters in the background of a story with no real significance. That's the only place they want to see a black person. And the thing that upset them about Ashley Gail Paxton was she wasn't following the unwritten social rule as related to fandom, where a black person can be seen in the background but never heard, or even have the audacity to even think that they could go out here and be front and center. They can be front and center as related to things. That's the thing that really burns up many of these racists. This young woman wanted to present herself as the lead, present herself in the role of these lead characters, and present herself as the center of the story. That's what really upsets many of these racists, is seeing a young black girl go out here and present herself in a way where she's saying, I'm front and center, I'm the lead character, and I'm the lead character, and I have the same amount of value as any other person out here. That's what really, again, sets off these racists, because they have that role reserved for themselves. And again, when it comes down to these nerds, they have that role reserved for themselves because they can't be the center of the world in the real world, but in the fantasy world and the world of fandom, they can go out here and pretend to be an alpha or a boss, but they're really a bunch of beta cowards, a bunch of beta coward keyboard warriors who think that they can, again, tell a person what a character is. No, you really can't tell a person what a character is supposed to look like. No, you can't tell anybody at all. No, many of these characters, again, are all about interpretation, and everybody has a right to their interpretation of a character. I mean, I saw a picture of a cosplayer who was playing as Wonder Woman. Now, I know Wonder Woman is a white woman, but this sister was looking so fine that I basically have her picture in my computer because she basically did such a great job. I mean, she did such a great job on this Wonder Woman cosplay that it's looking just like Wonder Woman, except that she's a black woman being Wonder Woman. And I have no beef with this woman because this woman, again, she's showing her love for the character, showing her interpretation and her take on the character, and that's everybody's right to do. I mean, every kid has done this ever since they were little. I mean, every kid has done this, ever since kids are out here. I remember with Star Wars, I would go out here and try to play Luke Skywalker, putting on a bathrobe and having a foil cardboard insert, playing like it's a lightsaber. I mean, is there anything wrong with that interpretation of that character? No, that's something every kid, regardless of race, wound up doing. And when it comes to these characters, again, all we're getting is a person who has a love for the character. Again, a love for the character based on what they've seen in these animes, what they've seen in these movies, and what they've seen on these shows. And again, you have people who, again, love these characters, and there's nothing wrong with them going out here and presenting their interpretation. But the thing that triggers, again, these racists is that you're not following the program of white supremacy. You're not following the program of white supremacy. And you're not looking to, again, see yourself as less than. No, you're seeing yourself in the same place as that person. And that really shows how much a girl like Ashley has grown. She's really grown to a place that I have been hoping a lot of black people would go to. But what I hope black people would go to was getting to a point where we would, again, look to start walking away from their media and look to go out here and produce our own. That's where I see the next step being, we have our interpretation of their characters, but we have to start getting to a place where we start saying, hey, their characters are nice, but I'm going to go out here and present my own characters, present my own stories. This is just me forward thinking, because what I find, again, is that there's a lot of black folks who, again, love doing cosplay. I mean, what I find interesting is that, I recently watched on AEW a couple of years ago, Jade Cargill. She was presenting as the She-Hulk and presented herself as the She-Hulk before one of her matches, and that she was wearing that whole outfit as the She-Hulk, and nobody had a problem with it. I mean, where were the racist fanboys when she was out here doing the She-Hulk entrance? Nobody had. She was, again, painted green, had the whole costume on. She's also been dressed up as Storm. She dressed up as Jade in Mortal Kombat. Nobody had a problem with Jade Cargill, but they had a problem with Ashley, and that is where I got an issue, because y'all ain't had no problem with Jade Cargill, but you had a problem with Ashley. And again, showing me how cowardly these racists were, showing me how cowardly they are, because you will go after this kid on social media, but you ain't got a word to say about the black woman who's a pro wrestler who, again, was everybody knew was playing the She-Hulk and know she was playing Storm. And the reason why these racists didn't have an issue with Jade Cargill is because they knew there would be consequences for their racism, and they would have people who would push back against them as part of the mainstream society. Nobody's got a problem with Jade Cargill, but they got a problem with this young lady, to the point where they basically pushed Ashley Gail Paxton to the edge as related to her own life. And again, it just really saddens me that that we still have these toxic fans, these who are not, as I think, are fans. They're not fans in my eyes. No, true fans, again, follow the messages of this media, follow the messages and, again, positive themes that are in this media that are presented in these kids shows. But the whole thing is, these people don't watch these shows because they love the characters. No, they love the power that they think that they have as related to these programs. They think as related to being able to control the lore, but you don't have any power over any of this stuff whatsoever. No, you don't have any power, because again, these are corporate intellectual properties, and that's where I gotta agree with Professor Black Truth. And I'm gonna do this in another video, talking about, black people creating our own intellectual properties, because that's what I'm trying to do here at the SJS Direct Imprint. I mean, it's nice that we create fandoms as black people around other people's properties, but now that we have a growing population as related to fandom, it's time for us to, again, start seeing our value. And because when I look at Ashley, she basically was seeing her value, again, seeing herself on the same level as white people. That was one positive thing I see as related to this young sister. I see this sister, she saw, again, herself as front and center, and that's what we need to start doing. And as we do this, we have to start thinking, hey, if these white folks don't want us looking at their characters, we can go create our own, and have our own, and basically not deal with these racists out here. No, there are people like myself who would love to go out here and create characters like Isis or Steam or Matilda Crowley that you guys can go out here and cosplay, and I would be happy to have these sisters cosplay as related to one of my characters. Would love to see one of them go out here and cosplay as one of my characters, because I want to, again, go out here and build that self-confidence in all of our sisters, build that self-confidence in the cosplay community, that it's okay to be a black character, and it's okay to be front and center and be the main focus of our own stories, be the focus of our own stories, and have control over our own culture. That's something that I really would love to see, and I would love to see more black people, again, standing up against these racists in fandom. Because fandom is a toxic place. It's a toxic place that's filled with toxic people. And again, the only way we can stamp out these racists is to stand up against them, and let them know that our interpretation of these characters, if we like those characters, is just as valid as anybody else's interpretation. Because again, nobody owns these. Corporations own these characters, and again, we have a right to present ourselves as these characters. The same way a comic artist, again, you're not going to get the same character. You're not going to get a same style as related to another artist. I remember the times with this neoclassic Iron Man. You had Mark D. Bright, a black artist. He drew it one way. You had another, John Byrne, who drew it away. You had John Romita Jr., who gave him the chunky boots and the chunky gauntlets. I mean, this character, again, was interpreted multiple ways, and nobody thought anything was wrong with any of the ways that this character was presented, but people got a problem with a black person, again, looking to cosplay as a character, and that really is something that many of us black people, who say we want to be fans of these characters and the messages in these stories, really have to go out here and stand up completely against. Now, if you want to pick up some of my black fiction, fantasy fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find those fantasy stories in the ISIS series, the Esteem series, the John Haynes series, and the Spinsterella trilogy. You can find all those stories on Amazon.com, and you can also find them at other online booksellers like Drafted Digital, Google Play, Barnes Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And you can also, if you want to see me make more videos talking about comics, sci-fi, and fantasy, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Amari's Revenge. The goddess next door is confronted by a Nubian queen out for revenge at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in this inaugural Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Amari's Revenge in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now available on Lulu. John Haynes at Death's Door. The man who rules the world takes on the Greek god of death in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes comic book. Get your copy of the first John Haynes comic at lulu.com today. Support black-owned and black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.